Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is paraphrase. Let's take a look at the definition of this verb. Paraphrase means to express the meaning of something that has already been written or spoken, but we're going to use different words to express that. So the verb paraphrase is something that you might be asked to do when you are doing academic writing. And this can occur in every discipline. This is not just for English classes specifically, but it can be a really important skill and something that requires a little more mental energy than just simply quoting a particular writer or author. You should know that paraphrase is a regular verb. To make the progressive tense, we drop the E and then add ing to form paraphrasing. The past tense and participle forms of this verb are made by adding D, since this verb already ends in an E. The base verb paraphrase ends in a voiced sort of Z sound. So our ED here is going to make a D sound. Paraphrased. Paraphrased. Now, you might be happy to know that I don't have any additional meanings for this particular verb as we combine it with prepositions. So something you're not likely to hear. Really, the definition I gave you previously is what is intended whenever you hear this verb. So let's do some verb tense practice with paraphrase. Today we'll look at the past progressive, the simple present, and the simple future using will. Let's start with the past progressive. To form this verb tense, I'm using a past form of be, that's was or were, depending on our subject, and then the ing form of the verb. Let's look at an example sentence. The historians were paraphrasing the founding fathers when they spoke. Okay? So again, here it means they have taken the ideas, the concepts from the founding fathers, but they're using their own words to express those ideas and concepts. If I want to make a negative sentence in the past progressive, I'm going to insert not after my be verb. You might hear native speakers use the contraction weren't or wasn't. Here's another example sentence. He wasn't paraphrasing. That was a direct quotation. Okay? So what this is suggesting is that someone was not using their own words. They were providing the exact words that someone else wrote or spoke. Okay? If I want to make a yes or no question in the past progressive, I'm going to start with my past tense form of be, so was or were, then I'll have my subject, then the ing form of the verb. Was she paraphrasing the old adage? An adage might be a kind of a difficult word or one you haven't heard very much. Another word for it is a saying. Right? So pretty much all cultures have different sayings. So practice makes perfect could be an example of one. But this particular question is asking if somebody took a common saying but put it in their own words. Now let's look at the simple present. Okay? If my subject is I, you, we, or they, then the base verb is going to be our simple present verb. Okay? But if our subject is he, she, or it, then we need to add an S to the end. And you'll see that in the example, the affirmative example here. My teacher frequently paraphrases famous philosophers. Okay? So again, not direct quotations, but takes their central ideas and concepts and puts them in his or her own words. If I want to make a negative simple present sentence, I'm going to use do not in the base verb or does not in the base verb. You might also hear native speakers use don't or doesn't and the base verb to make this simple present. Let's look at an example sentence. Some students don't paraphrase well because they struggle to use their own words. And sometimes it can be sort of challenging to take a difficult concept or complex idea and think about how you would explain it to someone else. Finally, if I want to make a yes or no question in the simple present, I will start with do or does, then I'll have my subject, and then the base verb. Here's an example, simple present, yes or no question. Do you paraphrase to show that you are listening? And this is actually something that many people do to kind of check for understanding by asking someone to sort of repeat back. What are you going to do? What have I just said? Now let's look at the simple future. Today we'll focus on using will and our base verb to express a future action. And the nice thing about this form is it will not change no matter what our subject is. And many times you're going to hear will offered as an offer or a promise. And I think that will connect to some of the sentences we have here. So let's look at the affirmative example first. I will paraphrase what was said. Okay, so again, perhaps someone is making an offer. This could be in a class discussion where one student has offered to do this verb, to put something in their own words. If I want to make a negative simple future sentence using will, I need to insert not right after will. And you might hear native speakers use the contraction form won't. Here's an example. I won't paraphrase the statement because I don't want to lose the weight of it. So you can imagine a really powerful statement or sentence. And someone is saying, I promise not to change it into my own words because it just won't have the same strength to it. Finally, if you want to make a yes or no question in the simple future, we can start with will, then we'll have our subject, and then the base verb. Here's an example. Will you paraphrase our manager's instructions? So again, will you put the directions in your own words? What are we supposed to do? Now let's take a look at the noun form, which has the exact same spelling, exact same pronunciation as our verb. So in its noun form, a paraphrase is a rewording of something that has been written or spoken by someone else. Let's look at an example. The professor asked students to write a paraphrase of the paragraph. Okay, so taking some other writer's ideas or concepts, and the professor is asking the students, now you sort of explain this in your own words. So the last thing I want to share with you is sort of connected to this idea. So we've been talking about the verb paraphrase. And again, this is a really important technique that people need to have as they do academic writing. So I thought in case this is something you're practicing doing, I'd offer just a couple quick tips. These are things that I have practiced as I've taught writing classes over the years, and it is definitely something that takes practice. So don't expect that you're going to do it perfectly the first time you attempt to paraphrase. So the first thing that's really important, whatever you're trying to paraphrase, you need to read and reread that passage or section before you'll ever be able to develop a really good paraphrase of it. So one quick read is not going to be enough. Okay? So one reason we're trying to read and reread this multiple times is we need to fully understand what it is we're paraphrasing. So sometimes this might require we look up words or phrases in order to understand the meaning. So once we've read it a couple times and we have a good understanding, then what I advise people to do is if they're looking at it on screen, close that window. If they're looking at something on a piece of paper in a book, close that, turn the paper over, what have you, and just get it out of your vision, right? And now, without seeing it, try to use your own words. What was that author saying? What are some of their key concepts, their key ideas? Do not try and just replace a couple words. So, and that's a common mistake many people have is, okay, here's the text, and I'm going to find a synonym, a word that means about the same thing. And maybe every fifth word or every seventh word I'll change it. And then it's my own words. That's not really what a paraphrase is. So after you've had a chance to write something, it's always good to take a little break, step away from it, and then kind of come back and ask yourself, what I have written, does it include sort of all these main points or the essential information that was in the original passage? And another question you can ask yourself is, does it reflect the author, the original writer's ideas? But is it using your own words, your own writing style? Okay? That's really important. Another thing that's important to remember is that you really must give credit to that original writer or speaker, whatever it is you might be paraphrasing. And like with really all types of writing, you're probably going to need to look over it, make some corrections, and edit it a bit. Rarely does someone write something perfectly the very first time they do it. So I hope you'll use our verb paraphrase as you write and speak this week, but I also hope you'll practice the action of paraphrasing this week, particularly if you're pursuing your academic studies. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day.